Cordially welcome at Inside Mind, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Folker Meissner. I'm a physician and have been working in the field of information medicine for about 30 to 40 years. And you have heard that the heart is beating. Have you ever heard that the heart is striking? I'm very honored to present you, to introduce to you a person who had felt this striking heart. And cordially welcome to you, Stephan Beck. He has got a very interesting bio, and I'm really curious to hear about it more. And we will tell you some very interesting things you can imagine. Stephan, cordially welcome. Would you mind to tell something about you, about your first life, about the striking heart, and the very happy end, obviously?
The happy new life, it's not ended yet.
Not at all.
So far, very first, thank you having invited me here, Folker. Great to be with you here. Yes, with pleasure. You mentioned it, so today I'm speaking about the old life, new life as well. How did it came to that? If allowed to start first on a time when I have been more younger than today. It was about 18, 19 years old. During my studies, I had this coincidence. Coincidence doesn't exist, maybe as well. Where I came to this opportunity to follow a self-training about suggestions, self-suggestions, based on Joseph Murphy, and had the opportunity to learn what is a self-suggestion. As a young person then, when I understood what it can bring as an effect, so I built up, was starting to write down my own self-suggestions, and those started with, and every morning when I wake up, the following thoughts comes up, double point, and then it started. And this, well, very first, the content of that, young as 18, 19, me mainly, I was focused on success, career, earning a lot of money. That was the subject, not only mainly, just that. Means that there were no thoughts about health, maybe, could be useful in life as well, harmonized life or whatever, so that was it. Having done this, the experience was that it worked. What I mean by that is, indeed, after a few days, having trained that, really automatically every morning my first thoughts were. And this during more than several years. It was, I don't know, more than 20 years for sure. And what was the content of those suggestions, those focus, this orientation, was then also main component of my thoughts.
I guess that you are also able to repeat your thoughts, your auto suggestions that you had at that time? Are they still present, or did they vanish?
I could, that's deep insight, yes, indeed, but I canceled that now with my today's knowledge in my new life.
Yeah, but it could maybe interesting for the audience not to step in the same traps, you know, because I presume that it was a more mental auto-suggestion and not so much emotional.
Fully cognitive, mental, yes. And as said, success just was the subject. Again, things like feelings such as love or health, again, was definitely in that moment not a focus on it. So what happened was that my life, that came into reality. I went through that during my old life. Through that, had different opportunities. They came. Went through my focus on work. However, on a certain moment, this is what I call today the best thing that could happen to me. In the meanwhile, I moved on. So today I'm living in Asia and the Philippines on Palawan. So this is an island, to give an idea, about 350,000 people. It's not just a small island. And on a certain day, I remember well, so it started that my body sent me a sign where I had some heart pains, feeling like having ants on the left arm. During the day, that developed more stronger through the whole left side of my whole body, with the result that my family brought me at 2 o'clock in the morning to the emergency of the small hospital we have on the island. The experience were mainly two. The very first was, of course, a big fear. The first time having this feeling to say that, well, I cannot handle it. I have no idea about any health, medicine or whatever. So I was somewhere delivered to what I call the White West as well. So people in this hospital tried to, well, through oxygen, medicines, they brought me up a little bit. Finally, 2 days later in this hospital, a doctor came to me and told me that what you need, there is a possibility to help you. They talked about stents. Had no idea on that moment what he's talking about, of course. But he added as well, it's not a big issue maybe to do so, but we cannot handle that here in Palau. And what you need to do, you have to go to Manila. Manila, they will be able to do so. Well, for me, there was something, during those times, it was somewhere on feelings ups and downs and ups and downs, and there came somewhere hope up, of course. But he added, that doctor, of course, but I cannot let you fly to go there. It's somewhere a 1 hour flight, 800 kilometers. And he explained me, well, why? Well, there is an issue in terms of when you fly, in terms of air pressure. And I said, well, I don't understand. Do you want me to swim there? If you can't handle it here, how shall I go there? Well, at the end, I was very lucky having insurance, and they organized this typical emergency airplane that came up just for me. Yeah. And finally, they brought me to Manila a few days later. Hope came up again. Was quite amazing having that first experience for me, that everybody is caring about me. Typical, just one airplane only for me, bringing me to the airport of Manila. Have never been so fast from the airport to the center of Manila due to this emergency car that brought me there. Having arrived there, well, Manila is something about 8-10 million people living there, and it's a city on its own. It was Makati Medical Center. I think there were about 15 or 20 people running out of when I arrived there. They were expecting me, and a lot of people took care of me. A lot of tests, and then 2 days later, so I was with that machine where finally, so a doctor, you know that better than me, when I went inside a vein here on the side, so I could even see it first time in my life, beating my heart on a screen. Hope was there. I told to this guy, you know what, at the start of this tests, whatever it needs, put as many stents it needs, and hopefully then I will be healed. But then came on a certain moment, he said, it's too small, too tight to handle something with stents over there. So I saw that face of the doctor, I remember very well, and then down again. So he cannot help me on this classical stent stuff. Finally, after further tests, running on like jogging with some cables on me, they told me that at the end it's an issue in terms of the muscle of my heart, that it seems that the blood pumped inside the heart, well, at the end the heart is a muscle that it pumps blood, as far as I understood, but the muscle that pumps out the blood of the heart is not strong enough anymore. Well, so what does it mean? For me, a muscle is, well, you go to gym or whatever, and maybe then that muscle comes up, and he said, well, we cannot train a heart muscle like that, but there are some medicines existing specifically for that could help you. Yes, you can go home, come back in 2 weeks again, and we'll have a check. So what I was receiving is a paper with a long list of a lot of chemical stuff. And I could fly back to Palau, and in 2 weeks, so during these 2 weeks, what I had is somewhere a new experience, and an additional as well, the doctor said, but no sports, please, during that time. For me also somewhere not very clear, well, a muscle is not well working, not doing sports, okay. Having heard that, went back, past these 2 weeks very, in a somewhere not yet new life, while a family or surrounding is somewhere changing and treating you somewhere like grandfather, where you find yourself in the morning with 6 pills in front of you in a box, prepared by even your kids, and you're eating that. Evening as well. 2 weeks later, going back to Manila, expecting, hope. I felt much better in the meanwhile. Went back to this medical center and had a very short meeting. I was really hoping that this guy will agree with me that it's okay now, you're healed. But during this 3-4 minutes appointment with him, there was more focus on that paper, what he gave me on medicines. And I felt somewhere not heard from him, trying to tell him, I'm fine. So what he has done, he just took out one of these medicine, added another one, gave me the paper and said, take that. We see us in 3 months again. And then I asked, but how long shall I take that? And he looked at me and said, maybe all the rest of your life. But take it and all is good. So I went back, and that was an important moment as well. So I went down first floor in this medical center, and we're buying for the next 3 months this medicine. So, and this lady, I remember very well, she came with this big basket just for me. It was not just a few packs. And I was thinking, my God, I will eat that just anymore this? I was somewhere shocked, impressed, whatever. And then started a process of, so I went home, took my flight back to Palau, and started there to ask myself in question, what is happening here? What people are doing, and you have pastime maybe, start to read books. We have today Google, YouTube. And I came to a interesting, because you think, of course, it can't be that I'm the only one that has this. There must be other people as well. There must exist an experience about it. And came to, for me, a completely other world of information platforms, such as we are here today. And heard about Götz Wittneben, who was sitting on your place now. 2 people here. There was Brigitte and Ralph from SOL Hypnosis. And I was listening to that, and I was impressed, interested, especially by the fact that the explanation that's been given by these 2 people, Brigitte and Ralph, something not, too much spirit in terms of spiritual, whatever, something really down to earth, with examples in terms of physics, quantum physics as well. I said, yeah, it makes sense what this guy is telling there. And that made this, getting more interested. And what I have done, I sent an email up just right after that video to Götz, asking him, because I understood he is able to do this SOL hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And I was texting to him, well, I'm Stephan here, a few kilometers away, a few thousand kilometers away from you, but might it be possible to have a meeting together in Germany? And during this exchange with him, I continued, of course, my researches and understood, well, this SOL hypnosis exists. There's a center where you can even do an intensive seminar. Well, for me, I said, well, if I fly these 12,000 kilometers to Germany, maybe better to stay for 10 days and not just go through one of these hypnoses one day and go back. So I realized as well, that was amazing as well. When you read books, when you inform yourself, there was this feeling, thinking there's something from the past. And I realized, no, these 2 guys that were sitting here, they exist. They act now. You can contact them. This is what I have done. So I saw then some dates of seminars and were writing them and asking, is it possible? Do you still have a place for the next coming seminar? And then happened something what on that moment I could not explain. It was a Saturday morning. Just after breakfast, I opened my laptop and I saw that email answering coming back from Bridget and Ralph from the SOL Hypnosis Center saying, it's okay, we are fully booked, but we'll have a place for you. There's another guy coming as well from far away, from Australia, from Melbourne then, so we were two coming from abroad. And we will take you. We accept you for that seminar, for those 10 days. And then what I have done, completely by intuition, without thinking, I went to the kitchen, took that big pack of drugs and put them in the trash. I remember well because my family was still sitting at the table and they looked at me and said, are you okay, Daddy? And I said, all good. I go to Germany. I don't need them anymore. What I need now is to book a flight to go to Germany fast. We could say, at that moment I wasn't able to explain it, of course. But I was on a way or the other, by inside, by myself, so something not coming from outside in, this came from inside out. Definitely, I don't need that anymore. Health is inside myself that I can do on my own. I couldn't explain it on that moment. Later on, of course, when I visited and learned, today know, it's more than know. Knowing, it's awareness. Knowing for me today is something that comes from outside in as well. But if you are aware of it, then you live it. So I became then the explanation as well throughout my experience I have done there. So that was the story. To say, today I know very well, if you live only in this cognitive world as I have done on the way or the other, the body has plenty possibilities to send you an information. Might be at the beginning a little SMS, if it's a little, it's paining there, it's here. If you don't listen to it, next time maybe an email. If you also do not take attention for the email, next time maybe a phone call. If you don't take the call as well, one day to the other it stands in front of the door of your house. And this is what happened to me, and that was the awakening, we could say, for me.
Absolutely. There's not really one heart arrest out of the blue. They have always symptoms beforehand, but that are not acknowledged. And when you are on a success trip, you wouldn't allow yourself to have the symptoms that just ignored, which is quite normal. This is quite normal. But as I understood, you had this very deep faith, this trust, this radical trust, where you say, okay, I can do that. Even though the SOL hypnosis will come a few days later, you had this trust, the healing started right now, somewhat like this?
Today in my new life, I allowed to say faith, yes. I distinguish today between, we could say, you can have a belief. I saw something from you as well somewhere. If you do not, if you don't have the awareness, then you still have to believe. You remember that? Your words, and it's exactly that. It's on that moment when that happened, it was an awareness, but still somewhere unconscious. I couldn't explain it. It was definitely, it was an awareness. It was not a belief. Then another belief is for me somewhere like hope with doubt. Somewhere still doubt is coming in. Now you can try to think, okay, let's think positively. Will be better. It's not that. This awareness came up on that moment that I explained before, on that beautiful morning, was somewhere not possible to explain it, but it was definitely an awareness. It was more than faith, if allowed to say.
Yeah.
Later on, well, there was more. I had then the beautiful experience to see within this seminar where you learn what is possible to do within our unconscious. I distinguish as well subconscious and unconscious. I think we go deeper, we talk about the unconscious part of our brain, to realize what is in there. And I learned things such as, I can give you an example. I went there still very cognitive oriented, still old Stephan, if I allow to say. Went there, took my notes during the seminar, listened very well with my head. Still hard, not done. So it was key as well, of course, to be really for the continuity of within the new life as well, of course, to be able now to, I could say, to explain it, but to be aware what happened to me. An example was that during that seminar, I mean, people surrounding me, they talked about something, for example, unconditional love, universal energy. I mean, I came from the world, if I'm allowed to say, if in my old life you would talk in front of me, talk about unconditional love feeling, I would ask you, Folker, what's that? And as that was indeed the case, so I took note. Unconditional love, question mark? I will have to ask that question. I had a lot of other questions. I asked them all, had my answers, but that question, I did not ask for it. Today, I also know very well why. Because you have to be aware of it. You have to live it. You have to feel it yourself. You cannot just explain it. I think once I will see the book, we explain you what is universal energy. You are energy. And having read that book, you will be aware of it. I will read it, but I have a little doubt if by words coming from outside in, that you really have awareness. Knowledge maybe, you have a belief, possible yes, but not really awareness. And during this intensive seminar, the first one I was following then, I went through processes, so I explained that, had some experience. I mean, we have done real hypnosis then there. And I remember very well, the very first, I was quite nervous, of course, and it wasn't the first client, we could say, that went on that bed and lay down. But if even as an observer, you realize when you follow the first time, there was a person paralyzed, 80%, that went there with a huge handicap in his life. And after 1 hour and a half, he stands up, a little bit dizzy, of course. I do not go too much in detail about the process now where we went through. During the SL hypnosis, it's not the subject now. But this guy stood up, of course, not really running around like an Olympic champion, but he was standing on his feet, walking. And at that moment, within my cognitive way, just not possible to handle it. So what I had to do is just go through that, and I have done this. I had to go out and was walking 30 minutes very first and was crying. Feelings came up.
Okay.
The first step of that. I said, can't be what I saw here now. How is that possible? One step. And further on, there's a certain way of, there's a sense within this seminar. It's not just, don't imagine, a kind of classroom, taking note, listening, profiting, like a television, just listen, or a book. It's an energetical work that happens, and it's a certain process where you go through during these 10 days. And you start to learn step by step, build up small steps in order to allow to each individual to let himself inside to come down. I make this sign today, the heartbeat or the heart strikes back. It wasn't by accident that it was my heart that just said, hello, I also exist. I'm not just here a pump that is existing for turning around blood. There is something more. Not going too much in details about that process, so you go through that feelings. You realize there's not something coming from outside in again. You have the possibility through this, I try to simplify it, to have an extended awareness through a certain state of trance, which is a very deep relaxation, like meditation, we could say. We distinguish between 3 levels, -1, -2, -3. I take it like some floors. For me, in the past, in my old life, I also tried, at least, today I can say tried to handle sometimes a little bit my relaxation through meditations, but that was something about 0.5 -1 maybe. And through this process, it is possible to come to a very deep relaxation, in order not to call it trance, because people say, trance, what's that? Some drugs. We do not talk about that. It's a very simple, natural state of mind. Allowing, have an extended awareness, but with our prefrontal cortex that is always there, this critical part, a little bit put by side. This is arriving on that awareness level. It allows us to have access to the unconscious part of our brain and even have a dialogue with it. And that's the key point now. If this trance level or deep relaxation state is arrived, just to be sure that we well understand it. So I do not sleep. I'm fully aware what happens here. I'm listening to myself and what happens around with this therapist that is doing it, therapist. I'm aware of what is happening, but once someone is asking a question to my unconscious part, I hear answering myself without reflecting. What shall I tell him here? The answer is coming up.
That's
and here starts the point of realizing what is awareness. Oh, there is something inside me that explains something, and I can even check, is it the truth or not? Is it the truth or not?
And you're listening to your own answers that you haven't thought.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting thing. Exactly. But you said that when you had this first experience of azure hypnosis, and when you said that this guy was getting up on his feet, and he hadn't done this for years, and then you went out and had to walk for, let's say, half an hour, and the feelings came up. When you allowed yourself to get in contact with your emotions, is this let's say, a state that you are still in? Are you still allowing your emotions to pop up, to be connected with your cognitive mind? Or are you a bit in between? Are you able to balance it or to change it?
Are you still in it? I am it. I am. That just maybe to that part, if I allow, everybody during his life is asking sometimes this question, what am I? Where am I from? Most probably, more or less everybody on this planet is asking himself the question, and he's so close to the answer. Who am I? What am I? Just push out the what or the who, and you know it, you are. So this being, to your question, are you still in? Yes, I am. I am, and this awareness has, through this certain process, of course, to come up. It's not going to, no, you are in it. It's like an enlightenment, yeah? Maybe some people can have it. I did not. How does it affect? I can give an example. In my old life, again, feelings were always something that, not good, get in trouble with that, push them by side. Put them by some. I remember well, after these 10 days, I went back to the Philippines, back to my family, and I can't remember exactly the circumstances anyway. We were all sitting at table dining, and something has been said, and I felt my feelings, I was able to have these feelings, and I feel some teardrops, happily teardrops. We're at a table, and I look at my daughter Lily, and the whole family realized they were not really very comfortable with that. And I was sitting there asking, is it all okay with you? And I said, it couldn't be better. It couldn't be better. I'm bathing in my feelings in here, but a little bit strange, of course, within my environment, because they did not yet know what's that new Stephan or that new life.
Yeah,
if that would happen to me within my old life, I most probably would maybe stand up and say, sorry, I have to go to the toilet, whatever, and cry for myself, or even not crying and try to switch it off. Why? So it's something beautiful to have feelings, to live it. So coming back again to your question, are you still in? I am it. I am these feelings. So, and will always be something without any end and no start.
So it was not only mind-blowing, but life-changing.
It's life-changing, definitely, completely,
Absolutely.
Yes. Indeed. Yeah. Focus, priorities, that has been priorities before, is any more important. Yeah. I can well understand, of course, people would say, well, come on up. Okay, you ask them, what is the most part in your life? What is your wish? What would you like to have? Happiness. Fine. What is happiness? Well, a feeling somewhere. As they go inside yourself. You've got this happiness. I gave an example. Happily crying is something absolutely beautiful. People most probably, and this is what I hear is most, of course, from people, they tell you, oh, well, wait, before you're arriving there, maybe first I have to work, I need some money, I need to go to buy my rice, need to find a nice wife, so to fulfill some conditions. Mm-hmm. And then, hopefully, whatever, I will come to my happiness. But once you have this awareness of, and now we come back to this unconditional love, that is not somewhere, that I'm a part of it, like a drop of water in a glass, then there is, as I said it, it's unconditional. Mm. And when you are, again, do not understand it, I try to avoid this word, you have to understand it. You have to understand nothing. Because understanding is something that is coming from outside in. Again, when you have had this awareness of it, you realize, awareness, be aware, all these words, you realize, realization, that you don't have to fulfill nothing. All is unconditional. In order to come to this happiness, if your wish is to have this happiness, you can have it, and it's just here. If you wish, in a few seconds, or even a part of a second. Life is not so easy, of course. Listen to your heart. People say, oh, I don't know, shall I go left in my life? Shall I go to right? Yeah, listen to your heart, you will find it. That's not so easy, of course. Astral hypnosis was, for me, the help to come to a certain state I explained before, to be able to listen inside myself and say, aha, this is what I am, and there is a field of endless possibilities that brings that. And as well, if I say a field of endless possibilities, so therein is as well happiness, therein is health, therein is, if you want to have it still, success, whatever success is. Whatever you have, all is there.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of unearth the core Stephan who was in yourself, but a bit buried by your success stories.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you enjoyed this very touching interview. This is a person who had choice points in his life, a bit of dangerous choice points, and he did not only survive, he changed his life totally. And I would love when many of you get these chances to accept choice points and to do the right decisions. And I would be happy to see you here again at Inside Mind. All the best to you. And thank you, Stephan, for this interview.
Okay.